Jeremy Borash, a TNA original.
Jim Barcelona.
Yes.
Yes.
Pioneering this, starting this, getting this off the ground. You wear many hats. We were talking about the hats. Man, I didn't even realize how many hats that you wore. Director of social media, huge thing nowadays. Mm-hmm. You're a backstage interviewer. You're a live event host, ring announcer, play-by-play, just a jack of all trades. Mm-hmm. Do you have a favorite?
It depends what day it is, day of the week. Yeah, it goes. Some days when social media is going great, social media when I get to do a play-by-play in a pay-per-view or something like that. So I think the variety is what keeps it interesting, and I think that as long as I can have a good variety, there's no day that's the same. So I think these days I don't think you can get by just being a ring announcer. I don't think you can get by just being a play-by-play announcer. So it's kind of one of those things where you learn a bunch of different things, and whenever you're called upon to do one thing, you're going to be proficient at it. So, after 10 years around here, I better be good at something at least, right?
It's so important, I think, not just here, but any job, to be able to do so many different things. So when you're telling me all the different things you're doing and all, it's got to be a real plus to have someone like that on board.
Well, I think it kind of dates back to the early days when we first started out 10 years ago. There weren't a lot of positions to be filled. There weren't a lot of employees to fill those positions. And I don't think that's really changed much. It's just growth. And when you have, 5 people doing 100 things, whereas now you have 250 people doing 1,000 things, things just kind of grow exponentially. So I think when you have that, there are a lot of positions, things to be done, and I think that's just having somebody around that's kind of used to being, I guess maybe equated to being a designated hitter or a pinch runner, or and it's just you got to be able to fill into spots where they need.
Like a utility player.
Utility player, yeah.
Do a whole bunch of different things.
Sure, yeah. So that's I think that's probably what it is more than anything else. Out of evolution.
Becoming director of social media, just even the start of TNA till now, the growth. Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, everything has just been tremendous. How have you seen the growth, and also in sort of bridging that with your fans?
Mm-hmm. Well, I get a lot of tweets that saying you were the first person that got me on Twitter, and I think there were a few of us way back when, that were on Twitter, and even further back Facebook, and even further back MySpace, and kind of just being on the cusp of what's going on. We obviously have. Since day one, have been really committed and have had a loyal fan base with our social media. And we're doing things a lot different, I'd say, than even our competition, if you want to compare the two. So I think with, we were the first ones to do any sort of live interaction with our live events. For almost 3 years now, we've been tweeting backstage passes, locations, and things like that. So a very interactive feel, and at the same time now evolving to a place where we're doing live backstage video during our show. So when Spike TV goes to commercial breaks, we've got a live backstage camera that comes up, and instead of watching commercials, you get to watch some interviews or guys that just come out of the ring, or if there's a match that goes to commercial break, we're showing the match on the website. So there's different ways to interact with your fans, and it's just trying to find out what's clicking with them and trying to stay ahead of the curve a little bit with that, and we've been pretty successful at that.
No, that's interesting too when you mention competition. Any competition for that matter, it's interesting to see that the competitors see what other groups are doing, other companies are doing, and now they're starting to boost up their social media as well. In that regard, do you look at something like that and are like, hey, look what we started, look what we got going?
I think so, but then you really can never claim to be the first. We might have been the first in wrestling to be doing that, but I first heard about that from a musician that was walking around giving backstage passes. So, that's many years ago. It's just how you incorporate it, and I don't think you can say at any point what we've done from a social media standpoint. We might have been before our competition, but nothing we've done you can really say we were first at in the genre, nor could they. It's just a matter of what you choose to use to promote your social media and to interact with your fans. I think we're much more of a one-on-one basis. I think we're when you can go into an arena and say, who's here, tweet us back, and go up and deliver them backstage passes once you get it. Tweet us your seat location, and I'll run up there and give them backstage passes. So I think it's just a very one-on-one versus a mass, effort. Ours is just much more personal. I think that's kind of starts at the bottom too. That starts with our fan interaction to begin with. I think if we take the same model that we use for our one-on-one, for our meet and greets and different things, social media has the same thing. We try to make it very personal. Direct, just for instance, Dixie Carter. I look at her Twitter account and I can do the password in it. And the other day I looked and it was like, she direct messaged something like 1,000 fans in a week. It's insane.
That's incredible.
Yeah. So it's kind of one of those things where it's very personal, it's very one-on-one, and that's just the mantra of our whole company.
You mentioned Dixie Carter, president of TNA Wrestling, TNA Entertainment, and that's something that the president, you're able to interact with her through social media, which is something that I think is also helps the growth of the company. Does that surprise you at all, or no? No, because you know her.
You know what, I almost wish, because I always look at our fan interaction, and I can personally relate it to when I was a fan growing up, 4 or 5 years old, going to see AWA in St. Paul, Minnesota, and I remember the one day, more than anything, I went to all kinds of shows growing up as a kid, probably 30, 40 shows my dad would take me to, but the one thing I remember more than anything else was the one day Baron von Raschke, the Clawmaster, was walking in, and I was outside the arena, and he looked at me, and he came over specifically and shook my hand. I remember that. I didn't remember what was on the show that night, didn't remember the main event, didn't remember who he was, anything about it, but I remember that time more than anything else. So in my head, when we started doing social media and social interaction and meet and greets and everything, I was like, if you can shake the hand of a 5-year-old, you probably got a fan for life on some level. And I can't then, and I equated that because I was a fan. I've never been a fan in the social media age, so I don't know what it's like to actually get a tweet back from the president of a company that you watch on television, but I can imagine it's a pretty thrilling experience for fans. So, it starts at the top and she leads the way, and I think as far as how she treats the fans online and interacts with them, I hope that trickles down, and I know I do. I know a lot of the people that are involved with the company are very active in directly talking to fans one-on-one, and that's feedback that's good and bad, and questions, and there's just anything comes up, and we try and answer it all.